The mortal Spartan? Before he was a god slayer, before the ashes on his skin, Kratos was just a Spartan warrior. But not just any warrior. He was the captain you didn't want to face on the battlefield. In God of War Ascension, we see the man before the myth. No supernatural rage meter, just raw training, Spartan discipline, and absolute command over his troops. From childhood, Spartans were raised in the agoge, a brutal system where boys were molded into soldiers. Kratos didn't just survive it, he dominated it. He learned strategy, hand-to-hand combat, and the kind of intimidation that makes an enemy hesitate before swinging their sword. By the time we meet him in the flashbacks of God of War, 2005, he's already carved a name for himself in blood. But then came the battle with the barbarian horde. Kratos and his men were surrounded. Defeat was seconds away. In desperation, he called out to Ares, offering his life for victory. Ares accepted. Chains seared into his forearms. The blades of chaos became part of his flesh, and the mortal Kratos died that day. What rose in his place would be far more dangerous and far more tragic, because the Ghost of Sparta was about to be born. The Ghost of Sparta, now bound to Ares, Kratos becomes a weapon, not a man. The blades of chaos are chained to his arms, their fire cutting through entire armies. Every swing is agony, but every kill feeds his master's will. In Chains of Olympus, we see him serve the gods with brutal efficiency. He tears through Persian armies, slaughters monsters like the basilisk. But then comes the event that defines him forever. Ares tricks Kratos into attacking a village. Blinded by rage, Kratos cuts down everyone inside, only to discover he has just murdered his own family. As punishment, the oracle binds their ashes to his skin, turning it pale white. From that day on, he's the Ghost of Sparta. He keeps serving the gods, but now it's different. Like, the loyalty is gone. It's pure debt and pure hatred. He fights harpies, hydras, gorgons. But in God of War 2005, he's finally given a chance to break his chains. Kill Ares. Kratos accepts without hesitation. The rage is now aimed at a god, and the moment he seizes the blade of the gods, you can feel it. This is no longer a servant. The next time we see him, he won't just be a ghost. He'll be the God of War himself. The God of War, Kratos does the impossible. He kills Ares and takes his place on the throne, and the Ghost of Sparta is now the God of War. But here's the thing, becoming a god doesn't make him any calmer. If anything, it makes him more dangerous. In God of War 2, we see Kratos wielding his new power with zero hesitation. He leads the Spartan army across Greece, crushing city after city. The other gods see him not as an ally, but as a threat. That fear comes to a head when Zeus makes his move. In a moment of pure betrayal, Zeus strips Kratos of his godhood, impales him with the blade of Olympus, and sends him to the underworld. But Kratos doesn't stay dead for long. He claws his way back with the help of the Titans, swearing vengeance on Zeus himself. The game is packed with god-tier moments, fighting the Colossus of Rhodes in the opening, racing through the island of creation, tearing through Theseus, Perseus, and the Sisters of Fate. Every battle is a step toward rewriting destiny. By the end, Kratos is riding on Gaia's shoulder, leading the Titans in an all-out assault on Mount Olympus. The war between gods and Titans has begun, and in that moment you can feel it. The rage is no longer just personal, it's apocalyptic. Because in the next chapter, Kratos isn't just coming for Zeus, he's coming for all of Olympus. The power of hope. The war is on. Kratos stands on Gaia's shoulder, storming Mount Olympus with the Titans at his back. And God of War 3 wastes no time showing you just how far his wrath will go. The first god to fall is Poseidon. Kratos beats him to death in one of the most brutal openings in gaming history. The oceans flood, drowning entire cities. And from there, it's a god-by-god massacre. Hades in the underworld, Helios in the blinding desert, Hermes on the city streets, and Hera in the gardens. But every god's death has consequences. Killing Poseidon unleashes the seas. Killing Helios darkens the skies. Killing Hermes spreads plague. By the time Kratos reaches Zeus, the world is collapsing. And he doesn't care. The fight with Zeus is a multi-stage epic. From the throne room to the battlefield, to a symbolic duel inside Kratos' own mind. In the end, Kratos learns the truth about Pandora's box. When he opened it in the first game, It didn't unleash evil. It unleashed the power of hope, which has been inside him ever since. He uses it to finally end Zeus once and for all, but instead of keeping the power, Kratos drives the blade of Olympus into his own chest, releasing hope to humanity. It's the first truly selfless thing he's ever done. When he disappears, bleeding out under the ruins of Olympus, it feels like the end, but it isn't, because somewhere far away in a colder land, the ghost of Sparta will rise again. The Norse Kratos. After Olympus falls, Kratos disappears. No throne, no army, just the blades of chaos chained to his arms and the weight of every life he's taken. The Fallen God comic shows us these missing years. Kratos wanders across deserts, seas, and foreign lands. He's hunted by monsters, haunted by visions of Zeus and Athena. Even in distant countries, the gods still find him, and he tries to live quietly. But the blades are a curse. They won't let him forget. The Egyptian god Thoth offers him peace if he lets go of his rage. Kratos refuses. Rage is all he knows, and eventually his path leads north, into the frozen realms of Norse myth. By the start of God of War 2018, he's living as a woodsman with his wife Faye and their young son Atreus. When Faye dies, Kratos and Atreus set out to fulfill her last wish, spread her ashes from the highest peak in the realms. Kratos tries to teach Atreus discipline without passing on his rage, but the Norse world won't leave them alone. Trolls, Draugr, and gods like Baldur force him back into battle. When Atreus' life is in danger, Kratos does the unthinkable. He digs up the blades of chaos, chains wrap his arms again, fire erupts, and the ghost of Sparta returns. But this time, he fights not for vengeance, but for his son. By the end, the boy knows his father's past, and Kratos knows there's no hiding from it. Because war is coming, and the next fight will decide the fate of the realms. The Ragnarok Kratos. Fimbulwinter has come. The realms are frozen, the sky heavy with prophecy, and Kratos knows what's next. Ragnarok, the end of the world. In God of War Ragnarok, we see a Kratos who's more complete than ever. He wields both the Leviathan axe and the blades of chaos from the start. No more burying his past. Greek rage and Norse precision now fight side by side. Atreus is older, braver, and starting to follow his own path. Kratos must learn to guide him without controlling him. A harder fight than any giant or god. Along the way, father and son face Thor, Odin, and creatures straight out of myth. Nidhogg, Garm, the Valkyrie queen Gna. But the biggest change is inside Kratos. The man who once killed first and asked questions never is now willing to choose peace. When given the chance to slaughter Odin outright, he thinks about what it means for Atreus. When war is unavoidable, he fights to protect, not destroy. The Valhalla DLC dives even deeper. Here, Kratos enters a shifting afterlife, reliving key moments from his past: Greece, exile, Norse battles. He faces his own guilt head-on, and he learns that his story doesn't have to be one of endless blood. By the end, Kratos emerges as something he's never been before. Not just a warrior, not just a god, a leader ready to rebuild instead of burn. And for the first time in his long, violent life, his future is his own.